Josh, so the reason I made this channel go in this direction, which is more about spiritual growth, is because, you see, my other channel, Spiritual Renaissance, is mostly for those who already have a spiritual practice. And specifically, their spiritual practice is more along the lines of non-duality, Advaita, self-inquiry, etc. So, I need, though, because there's a lot of people who they're just... a spiritual practice is a little bit new to them, or perhaps they've been doing it for a while, but they're not aware of the importance of constructing a healthy, conducive lifestyle for the human body, self, because then that makes your spiritual practice more efficient. So I want to talk about that on this channel. So I'm going to give a little introduction about eight things that I've found that make your spiritual practice more easy, basically. And then I'm going to make separate videos. It's going to be like a series, a playlist, where I go over more specifically about these 8 principles. What are these 8 principles, or 8 things that we can do to make our spiritual growth more rapid and our spiritual practice more efficient? Well, those that have watched my other channel, Beyond the Alchemy, know that I talk a lot about semen retention. Obviously, huge. It's way up on the list. Conserving your sexual energy, because then you have energy for transformation. Spiritual growth is transformation. It's an alchemic process. Your old habits and tendencies, they don't want to just give up. They're like latched, and we're identified with them. So then that undoing, or that alchemic or awakening process requires energy for that transformation to happen. So we got to look at our life and see, how do we get energy? This is what these 8 principles I'm talking about are doing. It's a way to get energy. Most people don't have any energy. It doesn't count when you drink coffee and drink those energy drinks. That's not real energy. Then you crash after, and then it makes your nervous system and adrenal glands more weak. So then in the future, that stuff stops working, and then you're left with just a weaker nervous system than when you started this whole habit to begin with. Anyway, so conserving your sexual energy is a great way to start to conserve your energy, to have more energy. Of course, there's withdrawals and detox, and that's hard too. Life is hard, all right? So, period. Life's hard. But we got to bear that. We got to go through that, and we have the inner power to transcend all these things. So we have to trust that. It just takes a little time. It's not easy. And we're going to fail, and we're going to feel like giving up, and that's just part of the process. So, conserving your sexual energy is one. Diet, huge. Diet, having a clean diet that doesn't waste so much energy digesting your food, this is imperative. And see, these things that I'm sharing are even more important for those who have any kind of, you can say, mental health imbalances or nervous system weakness. It's even more important. That's what I originally made the channel for, but I found like there's not enough search volume for that. There's not enough people out there who are aware that they have a mental disorder and want help. That's what the real truth is. So many people out there mentally disturbed and don't know it. So that's why I'm shifting the channel more directly, specifically related to spiritual growth, which includes and even kind of favors those who have any kind of mental health, nervous system imbalance. So conserving your sexual energy, having a clean diet that takes the least amount of energy possible to digest, but yet yields the most dividend of energy. That's what you want. You want food that gives you a lot of energy, but it doesn't require a lot of energy to digest. So like I said, I'm going to make separate videos on these topics, and we're going to get into it. Third thing, the company you keep. If we're hanging around people that are vivifying our smallness or our shortcomings or defects of character, then that takes energy. You want people who somehow inspire you to be your higher self that might be dormant right now. See, you want that level of energy. So you got to check your company. Who you hanging with? Is it good for you or not? The environment you're staying in. Now, some can't help it. If you're living in an urban jungle, and because that's the destiny right now, that's okay. But if you feel some inner sanction to leave there and want to be in a more, you can say, balancing, conducive environment for your spiritual practice, the universe is going to provide a way for that. But you might have some karma right now to where it's making you be in this situation. So because there's a lot of lessons in vitamins in that situation that you're going to, that's going to help fuel your spiritual growth, paradoxically. So it might not feel good, but if that's the situation you're in, it's good. There's no mistakes. The universe doesn't make mistakes. But still, you want to, when you're able to, look at your environment and see, like, is it giving you energy or taking your energy? Is it stressful or is it more peaceful? This is another principle we're looking at. What are we up to now? 4 or 5? I wrote some things down in case, make sure I don't forget, but I think I'm hitting it all. Another thing is, so a spiritual practice, once our life is kind of shaped and there's some continuity, healthy continuity, spiritual continuity in all aspects of our life, as best as we can, you can't be perfect, then automatically your mind's going to be more quiet. That's just how it works. And then a spiritual practice is going to make more sense. It's going to be easier for you. And it's going to yield more fruit. Okay, so then you find your spiritual practice. That spiritual practice has already been downloaded in you. You just have to realize what it is. It can be more of a devotional type, worship, bhakti type, or it can be more of realizing the source of existence inside yourself. These are the two main paths. But you'll find which one resonates with you, and it's based on your archetype and temperament and level of consciousness and all kinds of things. So, but we try different things to find that which is already inside us waiting to be discovered. So part of that process is seeking and searching, and that's just the game that we're in. It's super hot out, can you tell? I feel it. The other thing, introspection. This is an important principle. You gotta look at yourself. Most important, be aware of your motives. Why do you do and say and act and react in the way that you act and react? Why do you like certain things? Why are you gravitated toward having certain experiences? Check your motives. Is it to get an ego hit? To get some kind of dopamine hit because you're trying to escape how you feel? Is it to try to get some attention, etc.? Or is it because it genuinely is vivifying your higher self, and so it feels good? We got to introspect and see. The better introspection we have, the more we can clear and dissolve these, you can say, negative energies or darkness that's hiding inside us that we're unaware of. We got to catch it out. That requires some subtle introspection. Okay, now I got to look and see if I hit everything, because I might have one. I think I remember before I even look. But let me look anyway, just to make sure. So we went over the diet, conserving your sexual energy, the company, having a spiritual practice. Okay, 2 more things about addictions and habits, and also service. So we got to look and see self-honesty. We need self-honesty. We got to look and see. Everybody has some habit, some addiction, some attachment. Like, what are you going to do? You're a human being, okay? Is it destructive, though? If you're an alcoholic or a drug addict or a prostitute of some kind, that might be destructive. And so you're not going to be able to grow spiritually if you're doing those things. Somehow God's going to make that into good also, but you're going to go through some suffering first. God uses everything for the highest good, so you can't miss. But it's a question of, like, how much pain do we need to experience, So you got to look at these things. Look at your addictions, attachments, and all that, and see, like, is it causing you trouble? Is it making you unhealthy? If you got a caffeine addiction, is it stimulating your nervous system and just making you too edgy and anxious? And then how are you going to have any spiritual practice with that? How are you going to drop down and be aware, you can say, of your subtle nature that's harmonious all the time? This is what a spiritual practice is. We start to become aware of our, you can say, our true self. So for example, if you're addicted to stimulants too much, then that's going to be hard to do. Or alcohol or drugs or weed or whatever. Weed might make your mind too dull. You're just kind of like, how are you going to do anything? So we got to look at these things because it's individual. It's different. Some people, maybe they can drink coffee and smoke a little weed. They don't suffer. Okay. But what about you? That's the question. Self-honesty. So we look at that stuff, and then you start to become aware of what you can do to help remedy those things. And the last principle, service. When you're being of service to people, you're not so self-absorbed in your own self, your own obsessive, compulsive, selfish mind. What do I want and need out of life? What do I got to? How can I use you to get what I want? And measuring yourself all the times in terms of material success, etc. That just makes your mind busy. When you're serving somebody without the expectation that they praise you or anything, when it's in your heart to serve somebody and help somebody, automatically you feel some spiritual juice get activated. You see, that helps us. It aligns, that frequency aligns us with our true nature, our true selfless, you can say divine nature, because they're on the same frequency. So that's important. That cuts ego and self-will like nothing else. All right, so these are the 8 principles that I wanted to touch on a little bit and give an introduction to, and then now I'm going to make separate videos on each one. And that's the base and the foundation of basically what I want to share on this channel. And then from there, if there's specific questions you have on these 8 principles, then we go over that and talk about that. But we have to have a focus and foundation. And I feel these eight things, they give some direction. So we have like a roadmap now, like what to do, like what do we do? I want to be spiritual. Why do we want to be spiritual? Because we want to feel better. So it's like, okay, what do I got to do? Okay, that's what you do. That's what I'm sharing. All right, I'll talk to you soon.